Okay, time to talk about two more bands. Both of these bands can be broadly pigeonholed into the doom metal category, but they're both very different. So, first band I'm going to talk about is Solstice. They're an epic doom metal band from England, and they had a debut album called Lamentations, which I'm not too familiar with, but I am very familiar with New Dark Age, the next album in 1998. My favorite song on here is Sumerian Codex, and the word Codex rings true because I feel the more recent band Atlantean Codex has derived a lot of influence from this album. This was released on Misanthropy Records, which is one of the best labels of the 90s. I don't know if they broke up or just went into hiatus or whatever it was, but they went away for a long time, and several years ago put out this Death's Crown is Victory EP on Surprisingly Dark Descent. But to be honest, I do not recall much of this album right now. However, I am very familiar with the return full length after that. This one's called White Horse Hill. Epic album. Great return to form. I'm going to say this is an 8 out of 10. And from there, we're going to talk about Yob. Yob are one of my favorite and probably one of the more popular doom-related bands out there right now. They had a couple albums before they signed to Metal Blade, but when they did sign to Metal Blade, that was when I became acquainted with them. There was a small record store in the town I went to college in, and they didn't have that much metal releases, but they did carry a lot of the Metal Blade albums. So they did have this, and after looking for something, anything to bring home, I decided to give this a shot. And I thought it was a great album, but I didn't become a huge fan until later on. The album after that, The Unreal Never Lived. Again, we're sticking to 4 or 5 long songs. And it was at this point that they changed their name to Midian and released an album, but then, due to legal reasons, soon came back to being called Yob and returned with the great Cessation. I think that's how you pronounce it. This was on Profound Lore Records and has since been released on Relapse. And this, by many, is considered to be their best album. Burning the Altar is a legendary song. And I think my favorite Yob album is Our Raw Heart, the most recent one, but I don't have that one on CD. After that, it was Atma. And my favorite song on Atma is Adrift in the Ocean, the long epic closer. On this tour, it was the first time that I saw them live, and it was a great show. I brought a friend that wasn't into metal or even rock at all, and for Yob, it just seemed like a much more like rock and roll, kick-ass, straightforward show. But it was a good one. One of the 3 times I've seen Yob, 2 of them are in my top 10 concert experiences ever, for sure. Great live band. Which brings me to Clearing the Path to Ascend. They signed to Neurot for this one. And on this tour, the time when I saw them, when they were touring for this, was opening for Enslaved. And there's 2 things I remember about that show. One was they played Marrow, which is my favorite Yob song. It's the closer here. Again, a over 20-minute song. And I just remember that was a couple weeks before my first child was born, and I was just in an emotional state of mind, and I just clearly remember the whole venue, the packed place, just, usually people won't stop talking between songs and whatnot, but as soon as Marrow started, the whole place, you hear a pin drop. Everyone went silent and listened to the music, and it was a transcendental concert experience. I usually don't say that. Usually it's just a concert, but that was definitely a special moment for me. The other thing I remember about that show is that somehow when I was watching Enslaved, I dropped it, and I just remember the circle of people surrounding me just did a collective, oh, they heard it, and that's what happened. So one of these records, can't play a couple songs on there. But life goes on. As I mentioned before, their album Our Raw Heart, the one after this, I think is probably their best one overall. But I need to work on getting myself a copy of that. I don't know why I don't have it. But it's been a while now, so I'm sure they're working on a new one. And I look forward to seeing them live again. I actually saw them live for a third time with Bell Witch opening for the Our Raw Heart tour. And that's my last memories of Yob. Hope to get some more soon. Thanks.